Check out the pre-Black Friday event this weekend at Shoot Point Blank. Take advantage of early doorbuster savings on firearms, ammo, and more. Plus, all Smith & Wesson firearms will be on sale during this event. Visit your Shoot Point Blank store for details.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the Democrats made some strides yesterday in their impeachment drama in the sense that they brought witnesses to testify who were actually on the July 25th call.
Yes.
And
finally.
Witnesses to testify who actually ever had a conversation with President Trump in their lives. So maybe they could speak to this evil in his heart argument that the House Democrats are making.
Well,
the problem is that their star witnesses continue to fall short of giving them what they need. For example, Lieutenant Colonel, and I do mean Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman.
Who, by the way, absolutely loved his time in the spotlight. I mean, could you think of anybody more who was just eating up all that attention more than him? I watched his whole testimony. I thought, God, he loves this.
But on the substance, he conceded to House Democrat counsel Goldman that he didn't talk to any Ukrainian who felt pressured to open an investigation in exchange for military aid. He also conceded that the lawyers he spoke with said it was legal for Trump to temporarily withhold the $400 million in military aid. So that becomes a little bit of a problem. So it's what he did say. Oh, and also what he didn't say, like his unwillingness to disclose who he spoke with about the call.
When we asked Ms. Williams who she spoke to after the call about the call, she was willing to answer our questions, and chairmanship allowed her to answer our questions. When we asked Mr. Morrison who he spoke to after the call about the call, he was willing to answer our question, and Mr. Chairman Schiff allowed him to answer our question. But when we asked you, you first told us 3 individuals at the NSC, your brother and the 2 lawyers. And then you said there was a group of other people you communicated with, but you would only give us 1 individual in that group, Secretary Kent. And the chairman would only allow you to give us that name. When we asked you who else you communicated with, you would not tell us. So I want to know first, how many other people are in that group of people you communicated with outside the 4 individuals I just named?
Yes, Mr. Jordan, on call readout, certainly after the first call, there were probably half a dozen or more people that I read out. Those are people with the proper clearance and the need to know. In this case, because of the sensitivity of the call, and Mr. Eisenberg told me not to speak to anybody else, I only read out, outside of the NSC, 2 individuals.
2 individuals.
Das Kent and 1 other person.
And you're not willing to tell us who that other individual is?
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Here comes the cavalry.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yeah, here comes the cavalry.
Whoa. Cool your heels.
First of all, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, it is Congressman Jordan, not Mr. Jordan. Oh. And secondly, Jim Jordan summarized that nicely when Vindman had some interveners.
Mr. Chairman, I don't see how this is outing the whistleblower. The witness has testified in his deposition that he doesn't know who the whistleblower is. You have said, even though no one believes you, you have said you don't know who the whistleblower is. So how is this outing the whistleblower to find out who this individual is?
Jordan, this is your time for questioning. You can use it any way you like, but your question should be addressed to the witness. And your question should not be addressed to trying to out the whistleblower.
Well, okay.
For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by senior writer for National Review, author of the book First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today, David Harsanyi. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, improper. I mean, it seems like they're the best the Democrats have so far is trying to make improper a synonym for impeachable, the same way they've tried to make what President Trump suggested a synonym for bribery.
Right. I mean, my take on this is that it seems like everyone's spinning their wheels when no one's really moving closer to any sort of big, a good few men moments, where someone's going to just blurt it out, and because some congressman has tricked them into it. I think, either you think that calls an impeachable, either you think that Donald Trump asking for an investigation is an impeachable offense or you do not, trying to bore into his soul and know what his intentions are is kind of ridiculous. And a lot of this testimony, to me at least, seems like bureaucratic types, deep, quote unquote deep state types, grousing about something they didn't like that happened. That has nothing to do with the impeachment at all, actually. It just has to do with you not liking Donald Trump's foreign policy and the way he conducts himself. So I don't think this moves anyone in America, either, who off their pre-existing position.
Well, and it's such an act of desperation. I loved when Congressman Ratcliffe presented to Jennifer Williams and the lieutenant colonel their depositions from closed-door depositions that they gave, and not once did they ever use the word bribery.
Well, they focus group that, I'm sure, that. That's the new word. So, these folks who, and I listen, I don't like the phrase deep state very much, but obviously there's people got together, there's a concerted effort to undermine the president, and something, I don't think the president's call was okay, but there's something wrong with people in the executive branch and the bureaucracy trying to undermine the president's policy positions and proposals, and I think that's a dangerous thing that we're not talking enough about, or maybe some people aren't talking enough about.
President Trump's reaction yesterday, rather than live tweeting, he just made some formal comments to the press verbally. And it was interesting, though, that this, rather than going after any of the witnesses testifying yesterday, he focused on Pelosi and he focused on what the House isn't doing that they could be doing because they're obsessed with this impeachment gambit. And he made a specific mention of the trade pact with Mexico and Canada. Do you sense that that's a pivot by the Trump administration to focus on those things that are otherwise popular, even in the House, even with the Democrat majority, that could be advanced that are not being advanced because of the impeachment?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you want to create the perception that nothing's getting done because of this, that this is just a waste of time, that this is a witch hunt, etc. But Nancy Pelosi did say something amazing yesterday that I think people should focus on. She said that I don't have the wording exactly right, but that they need to rush forward with this impeachment because otherwise the integrity of the 2020 election is in question, meaning if Donald Trump isn't impeached and removed, that the 2020 election is already in question. I mean, that's preemptively undermining our electoral process. It's kind of a dangerous idea. Even if Donald Trump is impeached, you can run for president again and win, and they already sort of have built in, this impeachment is sort of embedded, sort of paranoid fantasy that something's wrong with our election. Even if Donald Trump asked the Ukrainians to look into Biden's son, it doesn't strip anyone of their free will to vote for whoever they want. It's ridiculous to do what they're doing already, corroding public trust in the election.
But speaking of focus grouping, that seems to me that she's taking the advice that Andrew Weissman offered last week, the former prosecutor on the Mueller team, which is the Democrats are making a mistake by making this about, what to most people is arcane foreign policy in a faraway place on the planet, rather than making it something that is germane, where people are focused and energized, and that's on the 2020 election. So she's just trying to, 2020 election is jeopardized, and that's why we need to remove him. That's perhaps more compelling, more sellable than, Ukrainian military aid.
Right. The impeachable offense is that Donald Trump won the presidency. I mean, anyone who pretends that they weren't looking for something to impeach him. I mean, I love when Schiff says, "Oh, this really hurts me and hurts America," and I'm like, I wish I didn't have to be here. I mean, no one believes that.
What did you make of Lieutenant Colonel Vindman? I mean, I just want you to hear this because he became so dramatic and he acted like he was such an American hero.
Dad, I'm sitting here today in the U.S. Capitol talking to our elected professionals is proof that you made the right decision 40 years ago to leave the Soviet Union. Do not worry. I will be fine for telling the truth.
I mean, what this self-adulation, did it sicken you at all?
Yeah, this idea that everyone's in mortal danger because Trump might tweet about them is just so ridiculous, and you see it all the time with the media. They act like some oppressed minority in this, in Stalin era Soviet Union. You wouldn't be we wouldn't all be acting this way if this was actually a dictatorship or anyone's really scared of Donald Trump. But it is what it is. I think it's an act, yes.
And the Army's reportedly ready to move Vindman's family onto a military base if he's in physical danger, which is ridiculous.
Listen, I hate to mock something like that because you never know. There are wackos out there, obviously. Mm-hmm. But, for people to act like that, it's like when Ilhan Omar has someone writing her nasty letters. I'm sure Donald Trump gets a million threats a day. It's just something that happens when you're in the public eye, and it is what it is.
Yeah, in point of fact, the Secret Service had a report out the other week that Donald Trump and Trump Jr., Don Jr., are the two most threatened people in America. So, you're right. You're not making light of the possibility that threats exist, but the problem is they're using that as a switch-in for the lack of substance they're getting from these individuals. That's the insulting piece of it.
Yeah, I've gone through this in a smaller way my entire career. Sometimes I'm like, should I be writing this? There are a lot of crazy people out there. They're going to get mad, this and that. In a free country, we have the right to, listen, no one should be smearing anyone, but if we have to be critical of people who put themselves in the public eye and are involved in our discourse and our debate, I think we need to do that. We can't let terrorists have a veto on what we say or don't say.
Switching gears and looking ahead to tonight's next Democrat-Socialist debate, with Mayor Pete popping in Iowa, do you think there'll be some scrutiny on Mayor Pete in a way there hasn't been previously, that Warren and or Biden will feel the need to take him down a peg or two?
I think they need to drop Tulsi in and let her just knock him out.
There you go.
Like she did with Kamala Harris, yeah. Obviously, when you're part of the front runner, you're a front runner in some way, you're going to have the other front runners go after you. I think I'm still skeptical that he's going to be, once people get to know him better, he's going to continue to be this popular. To me, it just shows a weakness in the field. People are looking for maybe a more moderate alternative, and he's probably appealing as a new face, but I don't know that he's as deep or as compelling as people believe, and once they get to know him a little bit, so I expect that. But yeah, I'm sure they're going to attack him. I'm not sure what they're going to attack him on, but they will.
Freeman had a good piece in the Wall Street Journal earlier in the week about just the spike in violence in South Bend. this is a guy, 100. It's not just that he's a mayor of a town of 100,000 people. Is that the things aren't going well in that town, particularly and starting with public safety.
And the police force and the things that have happened with some African American shootings and things like that. Yeah. So there's definitely some there. I just can't stand the guy, honestly. I find him so sanctimonious, and his sort of pretend Christian, his Pope Pete, people call him. I think that's a good good moniker, but he is just annoying in that way, and I don't find him very moderate at all. So I just always expect that people will agree with me at one point, and his numbers will drop.
Do you think anybody's even going to watch the Democratic presidential debate tonight? Because I'm going to be focusing on Sunland today, and I just think that the American people don't care about it anymore because of the impeachment inquiry.
How much do you think they care about the impeachment inquiry?
Yeah, right.
I just don't know that most people are. I think they care in sort of in an abstract way, but I don't know that anyone's really interested. Once you have a bunch of witnesses and a bunch of, Lacari, type spy stuff, no one's really paying attention, or very few people are paying attention. The debates, though, we've had so many already, and I don't know that people are paying attention to that very much either. I don't know. That's just my conception of things.
If only the impeachment was as compelling as Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. There might be more people watching.
That's true. As I was saying, those books are a lot more interesting than what's going on in D.C.
One more on the Dem Socialists. Do you see anybody potentially entering the Tier 1 other than Warren, Biden, Mayor Pete, and Sanders? Do you see, can Little Lord Fauntleroy Bloomberg there apologize his way to the tier 1, or is there anybody, or are we looking at one of those four?
I think one of those four right now. Bloomberg is so out of sync with what's going on in that party. It's not even funny. On every level, he is just a bad candidate, I think, right now. And I can't really think of anyone else who who can move up. You never know, but I mean, Deval Patrick gets in. He's from a Democratic perspective, an accomplished guy, and moderate and all of that. And he's gone nowhere. There were like a dozen people at his event, so it just seems hard to crack. Maybe people aren't paying that much attention yet, but I don't know. I just still think it's going to be Biden, but we'll see.
He is David Harsanyi, senior writer for National Review, author of the book First Freedom: A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun, From the Revolution to Today. David, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Nothing speaks louder about an auto dealer than a happy customer. And at Joe Cotton Ford, they have many.
Typically, the car buying process, I think a lot of people would agree that it's not a pleasant experience. You look forward to buying a car, but the actual having to negotiate and purchase a car can sometimes be an ugly thing. And the one thing that I've always had here in 19 years, every time we purchased a car, it's been a pleasant experience.
Another reason why folks keep coming back to Joe Cotton Ford. Stop in for Black Friday deals at Joe Cotton Ford. Get an F-150, the best-selling truck for $42,000.